Greetings. This is for a home and garden style marketing campaign. My name is Mary. I'm going to give you a quick little story on how I became a homeowner and some tips on what you should be aware of. So let's get started. And the first thing I'm going to tell you about is when I was 21 years old. Actually, I was 20 when I decided to buy my first home. I actually closed, I think it was just a few days after my 21st birthday. So technically, officially, I became a homeowner when I was 21 years old. I knew nothing about buying a home at all. I had zero guidance. My parents had been living in the same house they owned for, I want to say, a little over 40 years, or maybe about 40 years. And so I was pretty much left to the wilds to go out there on my own with some real estate agent I had no knowledge of, except for I found him in the newspaper. And yeah, that's when I purchased my first home. And you guys have to remember, okay, I'm going to say the words. There was no internet back then. No internet. You basically looked in colorful booklets. You also looked in the newspaper. And that is how you would kind of start your journey into looking for a home. So I purchased that home, lived in it for, several years actually. And then when I became married, my husband and I decided to build a home. But before we built the home, we looked at dozens. I think we must have looked at close to 30 different homes, and we only had a few towns that we were looking in. So we sort of pigeonholed ourselves. And when we did that, we couldn't find anything that we liked. We came close on a couple that we thought, and then we're like, what we did is one of my tips I'm going to talk about later, and it's a reason why some of the homes were not selected. And so when we did that, we were sort of becoming a little downtrodden because we're like, really? Like, we can't find any home out here that we want to live in. And we had a budget and we were sticking to our budget. And eventually what we decided to do is build a home, or have one built for us technically, in a subdivision. So we were part of the subdivision craze, if you guys remember that. And the good thing about that particular build was you had the choice of like 7 or 8 different styles of home. Like the outside, I think there were like 4 or 5 styles, but inside you had like several different floor plans you could select. And of course, if you paid a little bit more, then they could make certain modifications. But obviously, things had to be approved by inspectors. So you couldn't just go off on a tangent with it. So, after living in that home for, I'm going to say at least, I think we were there 4 years, maybe 5 years max. We decided, actually, we were there longer. We were there like 7 or 8 years. And then we decided to build another home only because we ran into the same issue. We looked at dozens of homes, and this time we looked in a lot of different towns and just couldn't find anything that we liked. And we were trying, and at one point I remember saying to my husband, are we just being way too critical? Because we built a home that's exactly what we wanted to build, sort of, and now we're looking for another home that's already built to our specifications. And he's like, I don't know, I don't think so. And I was like, I don't know either, I don't think so, but maybe we are. And so what we ended up doing is deciding to go out, look for a piece of land on our own, and look for a floor plan that we would love and could manipulate and do whatever we wanted to build the house that we actually wanted. So that is what we ended up doing, and that's how I became the owner of my third home. So some tips and tricks of the trade. Number one thing that I think that every single person should do before they buy any type of home is take real estate classes at your local college. If you take those, and I'm not talking about, I don't know, like some crazy, I'm talking about the real estate classes that a real estate agent would take to become licensed. So the reason that I suggest that you take those classes is you will now know pretty much what the real estate agent knows. And some of the tips, the other tips I'm going to give you are going to tell you why it's super important to do this. So there's a lot of things that people don't know when it comes to real estate, and this is my other tip. They don't know that the commission, the amount, whatever the fee is that a lawyer would charge you, the inspection fees, there are a lot of things that deal with dollars and cents when it comes to a real estate transaction that are 100% negotiable. Most people just simply pay whatever it is they're told the cost is. And unfortunately for those people, they have overpaid. If you've ever done that, you've overpaid. So if your commission, for example, that you're going to pay a realtor is 4%, you can get 3%. You will get 3% or 3.5% if you tell them that's what you're willing to pay. Now, to get 3%, the property probably has to be a dollar amount of a higher value, obviously. And to get 3.5%, it could be a dollar amount of the lower values. And in some cases, let's say you're trying to get 2.5%. Now you're talking about properties that are probably in the multi-million-dollar range. But once again, just know that the commissions are negotiable. There's no one out there that should be paying 4%. You should be paying 3.5%, maybe even less. The other thing to know is when you buy a home, I believe before purchasing it, you should already have a home fund established. So a home fund takes care of any renovations, any upgrades that you want, which is what that is, that you want to do, any repairs, any maintenance, just normal, regular, everyday maintenance, for example. I know because some people are like, well, maintenance, isn't that if something breaks? No, that's just if something needs to be maintained. For example, if your gutters have to be cleaned out, you have to, if you're not going to do that dangerous task, you have to send someone out there to do it, and you have to pay them and make sure that they're licensed and they're insured and that they're also registered with your state so that you have legitimate contractors working for you just in case something goes wrong. But you need to have money to pay them, and this fund takes care of that. The other thing is before you sign on the dotted line or decide to purchase a home, obviously you're going to look at dozens upon dozens upon dozens of homes. And what you should also do is, yes, have your minimum. You want 3 bedrooms, you want a bathroom, you want a kitchen, like you want whatever it is that you want, but look at that, but also look a little bit higher. So add an additional bedroom, add an additional bathroom, and go look at those properties in comparison to what your minimum standards are, just to make sure that you'll actually be happy with your choice. Because you are making a giant purchase. It's probably the largest one you'll make within your lifetime. So you want to just make sure that you are purchasing something you'll be happy with. The other tip is go back to that property before you purchase it and do a few things. 1, go at different times and different days of the week just to see who's around, what kind of noise is there really, what's going on in this neighborhood. Also bring the people with you that are going to live in the house. So if you're not going to live in it alone, but you have a husband, you have a child, whatever, maybe you have an extended family that lives with you, bring everyone so that they can look at the home as well, because they might see things that you missed. They might hear things you did not hear or smell things you did not smell. And you want to look at that property from top to bottom, foundation in as well as out throughout all of the yards, whatever those are. And you also want to make sure that, and this is another tip, Don't be cheap when it comes to getting an inspection. Now, the inspectioner's fees are negotiable, but don't skip getting an inspection, because if you do, they may find something that you simply missed or you're being a little bit cheap about, and now you're dealing with a water problem, a termite problem. It could be any type of problem. And or they may even tell you that, oh my God, did you know this thing is on your property, whatever it is? And you'll be like, whoa, I didn't know that. But because you had a really thorough inspection, they now found something that could either be used to help negotiate a lower price of the home, or could also be a reason why you decide not to buy the home at all. Another thing that I would advise as a tip is that you have a home fund. So when you have your home fund, which I talked about already, the thing that you have to remember, and I wanted to separate this from have a home fund, is that money should only be used for fixing up, maintaining, and or renovating one day the home. It should not be used to pay the mortgage, HOA fees, taxes, like those. That should be separate money that, you know, is used for living expenses. The other tip that I have for you is when it comes to maintaining, fixing something, if you do not have the knowledge and you're not comfortable and you have not educated yourself incredibly well, leave it to a professional. In the long run, it might save your life, but also it can save you time, resources, fees, as well as headaches and additional damages that could occur. So those are my quick tips. I hope that they were helpful. Thank you. And once again, this is for a Better Home and Garden style campaign. I hope you enjoyed it. Be well.